Feed the Hike series. I'm Michelle Ryan and I'm from Walkingtwobytwo. In this episode, we're going to talk about dehydrators and the different dehydrators that you can find out there on the market. When it comes to finding the right dehydrator, it's not as hard as you seem to think it is. A lot of people get a bit nervous about making that very first purchase on which dehydrator should they get. You don't want to waste your money on one that doesn't work very well or doesn't give you what you need. So we're going to break it down and just make it a whole lot easier. But the main thing for you to remember is don't stress too much about it. It's not as hard to choose as you may think. If you've been enjoying the series so far, then that is fantastic. Give us a thumbs up, and as always, press that subscribe button so that you don't miss any episode, and share this around with other people. I think it's great in the hiking community how we all do tend to share our ideas and experiences. Dehydrators. Okay, when I first started doing this, and I can't even remember how long ago it was, and I got my first dehydrator, I was so excited to be able to dehydrate my food and go out into the trail longer instead of eating those pre-packaged meals that you can buy. And yes, there are some out there that aren't so bad. I mean, I have to admit, I do occasionally, especially in Europe, will buy the pre-packaged meals to take out onto the trail and rehydrate. There's been some too that I've bought, and I have to say it looks like something the cat's thrown up, or even tastes like something the cat's thrown up. So yeah, I am personally not the biggest fan of the pre-products, but there is a place for them out there, and it is great, it's convenient. Makes life a lot easier for a lot of people. But for me, I like to cook. I always eat fresh where possible. I love creating my own meals and experimenting and playing. So when I got my first dehydrator, that was just so exciting because I could just start creating meals. Like everyone else, I did the usual typical spaghetti bolognese, or as we call it, spag bol, in the dehydrator, just the casseroles and all those sort of meals. And my dehydrator was just a very basic, cheap, bottom of the line dehydrator, and I have to tell you, I can't remember when that was. It was so long ago. In fact, I think my kids were all little at the time. They're now all adults with their own children. And I still use that dehydrator today. As the years went on and I started to hike for longer periods of time and got more creative with my dehydrating, I then upgraded. Still was not top of the range. I've not gone that far yet. It was the middle of the range. It has, and you see it all the time on these videos, it has the temperature control in that, and I have to say I love having temperature control. That has just changed the whole world of dehydrating for me. I started to experiment a lot more with different foods like spinach. That was my first realization on temperature control and the bonus and the benefits it gave me. I could dehydrate my spinach at the right temperature so that when it came back just perfect. So the temperature control on your dehydrator is a bonus, it is a plus. We also will look at the different styles of dehydrators. Now you get the round ones, the square one. There's just so many to choose from. Dehydrators, you do have the fans that come from the bottom, you have some that come from the top, you have some sitting on the side. The fan blows the warm air through the food, past the food to dry it, and the warm air has to leave the dehydrator. You can't have it just circulating over and over again, because that will create moist air and then the food won't dry out as quick or as effective. So remember that if you're going to dehydrate in your oven, especially if you've got a fan forced oven, so you can use your oven quite well for dehydrating, but you must leave the door open a little bit just so that the air has somewhere to escape, so that it's not circulating and creating the moist air. Now there are a lot of people's opinions on whether you should have the air flow from the top, from the bottom, from the side, what works better. Personally, I have to say I think it does work better from the side, or the back I should say, and go through all the trays. And the only reason I think that works better is because all the levels of trays are getting the air going through at the same time, and then they're all having an equal chance to dehydrate at the same time. Whereas from the bottom or the top, it tends to, I find that, especially from the bottom, I find that the ones closest to where the air is, it tends to dehydrate quicker than the ones further away. But that's not a big deal. I just switch the trays up and down. I just keep changing them around during the process, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Now, as for round or square, that's personal decision, personal choice. The square is easy because it's just easier to put everything out on a square rather than the donut shape round with the hole in the middle. So that's just personal choice. As for price, like I said before, it doesn't matter if it's a cheap or an expensive one, they still all work. My cheap dehydrator, as I said, is still going. It's doing really well, and I don't see it dying, touch wood, anytime soon. So don't think that you have to spend a lot of money on this at all. You don't, especially if you're only just starting out and you want to try and just get your feet wet a little, and you don't want to spend huge amount of money just to find out that you don't enjoy doing it. Once you get that beautiful new dehydrator home, don't be scared of it. Don't be scared to just play, experiment. Try different foods, try doing meals. If you have dinner one night and you've got leftovers, make sure it's all chopped up nice and fine and chuck it in the dehydrator, and then it should be ready by the morning, and just play. And if something doesn't work out, then don't worry about it, it doesn't matter. It is no big deal. I have to say there's really not a lot of stuff that I've done that hasn't worked out, so I think you're pretty safe.